Hi friends! I can't wait to share today's book with you because this book was a present from my friend Carrie. Carrie lives very far away, all the way across the country from me in California. And she sent me this book and it always makes me think of her when I read it. And you know what? Books are my most favorite thing to give to people as presents. And even if you can't give someone a book that you buy, you could give someone a book that you make because books are one of the most wonderful things to share with friends. Well, this book is called Mrs. Armitage on Wheels. And what do you notice she's riding? A bike, a bicycle. She is, and a bicycle has how many wheels? One, two wheels. What else do you notice about her bicycle? I see some horns on her bicycle. How many horns do you see? I see 1, 2, 3. 3 horns at the front of her bicycle. And Mrs. Armitage has a very best friend, her dog named Breakspear. There's Breakspear, there's Mrs. Armitage. And this book is written by Quentin Blake. And if I have any fans out there of Roald Dahl, who wrote Matilda, James and the Giant Peach, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and many other really fabulous chapter books, Quentin Blake is the illustrator for those books. In Mrs. Armitage on Wheels, Quentin Blake isn't just our illustrator. He didn't just create these beautiful pictures. He's also our author. So he wrote all of the words for this really silly story. Let's see what Mrs. Armitage on Wheels is all about. We have some yellow end pages that matches my yellow sunflower. Mrs. Armitage on Wheels. I like how in this picture, Quentin Blake put a picture of Mrs. Armitage in one of the wheels. It looks like she's, thinking. I wonder what she's thinking about. Mrs. Armitage was out on her bicycle. Breakspear the dog ran alongside. Alongside, that means next to. A hedgehog walked across the road. Tring, tring, went Mrs. Armitage on the bell. Now look here, she has one little bell. What this bike needs, said Mrs. Armitage to herself, is a really loud horn. Remember the horns we saw on the front cover? I wonder if that's the kind of horn Mrs. Armitage will be getting. Mrs. Armitage bought 3 horns, just like the ones on the cover. One horn went beep, beep. Another horn went honk, honk. And the biggest horn of all went pa-hee-hurrah. Wow, they were all very loud. Look at Mrs. Armitage honking her horns. Beep, beep, honk, honk, pa-hee-hurrah. It looks like she's startled. She's surprised and maybe scared. Those women. Uh-oh. Then the chain came off Mrs. Armitage's bicycle. Now the chain is something that connects the wheels to the pedals, so that when we move the pedals, there's a gear, there's a big circle that the chain hooks onto. So when we move our pedals on a bicycle, the wheels move with the pedals. Wow. By the time Mrs. Armitage had gotten the chain back on again, Her hands were black and greasy. Our bicycle chains have a really special greasy oil on them, and that's what makes it easy for us to turn the pedals. But it's also very messy. "What this bike needs," said Mrs. Armitage to herself, "is somewhere to wash your hands." What could she put on her bicycle to use to wash her hands? Let's find out. Oh, so she got a bucket of water and a towel and a soap rack with a bar of soap, and she hung them all onto the bike. I noticed she's hanging them on the handlebars. The handlebars are what we put our hands on. And off she went with beautifully clean hands. What this bike needs," said Mrs. Armitage to herself as she cycles along, "if it's to be looked after properly, is a complete toolkit." A complete toolkit. What kind of tools do you think she might need? Let's find out. She got a toolbox with spanners and screwdrivers and hammers and cans of penetrating oil, and she fixed it onto the back of the bicycle. Look at that. She created a little shelf to put the toolbox on. And off she went. By now, Mrs. Armitage was beginning to think about food. "What this bike needs," said Mrs. Armitage to herself, "is somewhere to carry a light snack." Where do you think she could put a snack on her bicycle? What do you think? Let's find out. So she got a tray for apples and bananas and cheese and tomato sandwiches, and a holder for a bottle of lemonade and a flask of hot cocoa, and a special basket for bones and dog biscuits for Breakspear. And she fixed them all to the bike, and off they went. Well, look at that. She created another shelf on top of the toolbox to put the snacks. But by now, poor Breakspear was feeling quite tired. Do you notice anything about Breakspear that lets you know he must be getting tired? You could tell because his tongue was hanging out and he was panting. Panting is when we breathe really hard. And when dogs pant, they often stick out their tongues. Can you pant with me? Can you stick out your tongue? And we'll go. Good job! What this bike needs, said Mrs. Armitage to herself, is something for a faithful dog to ride upon. What could she make for Breakspear to ride on the bike with her? Let's find out. She got some iron brackets and some nuts and bolts and some cushions, and she made a seat for Breakspear, and off they went. And look at that. It reminds me of a seat on a bicycle that maybe you rode in when you were smaller. Or maybe you still get to ride in one occasionally on one of your grown-ups bikes. They had stopped beside the road for some sandwiches and dog biscuits when it began to rain. Oh, great heavens, said Mrs. Armitage. What this bike needs, Breakspear, is something to keep the rain off. Can you think of anything that starts with the letter U that we use when it's raining to stay nice and dry? We open it up and hold on to it. Umbrella. I wonder if Mrs. Armitage will get any umbrellas. Oh, she got 2 umbrellas, one large and one small. And she fixed them up onto the bicycle and off they went. Let's look at the umbrellas. Who has the large umbrella and who has the small one? That's right, Breakspear, the dog, has the small one, and Mrs. Armitage has the large one. Riding through the rain, Mrs. Armitage began to feel rather downhearted. Downhearted means a little bit sad. She began to feel a little bit downhearted. What this bike needs, said Mrs. Armitage to herself, is a bit of cheerful music. I know when I feel a little bit downhearted, sometimes listening to music can cheer me right up. So Mrs. Armitage got a transistor radio cassette player and a lot of cassettes of cheerful music and a mouth organ, a harmonica. And she fixed them all to the bicycle so that she could join in, and off they went. Now look at that. She put the harmonica, the mouth organ, up high. So when she's riding on the bicycle, it's the perfect height for her to blow on. And she put the radio up here for the music to sound right close to her ears. Mrs. Armitage was turning the pedals so fast and blowing the mouth organ so hard that soon she was nearly exhausted. Do you remember that word we talked about with Breakspear the dog? Sometimes how we breathe if we're really tired. Panting. I wonder if Mrs. Armitage was panting. What this bike needs, said Mrs. Armitage to herself, is a bit of extra oomph. Oomph. Oomph is a fun word to say. Can you say oomph? Oomph. Oomph is a great word because it means we just need a little bit extra power, or a little bit extra encouragement, or a little bit extra strength. Let's see what Mrs. Armitage is going to use for some extra oomph for her bicycle. She got some wood and some ropes and some tarpaulin, which is this blue fabric here. She rigged up a mast. A mast? Wait a minute, like on a boat? And she rigged up a sail, like a sailboat? And she got a few yards of bunting, this beautiful, colorful rope. And she threw an anchor into the bargain. Wait a minute, an anchor also reminds me of a boat. Mrs. Armitage is turning her bicycle into a land sailboat. Wow. Now a sailboat helps because the wind fills up the sail with air and it helps push us forward. Let's see if that works for Mrs. Armitage's bicycle. Off they went with the wind behind them, faster and faster and faster until, uh-oh, crash, crunch, clang, clatter, thud, pahee. She landed right on the loudest horn. What this bike needs, Breakspear, said Mrs. Armitage as she picked herself up from the wreckage, is taking to the dump. Oh no, all of the pieces fell apart so much, Mrs. Armitage had to get rid of them. And what I need is, what else could Mrs. Armitage use to get around town? Whoopee! what did she put on? Some roller skates. And she put Breakspear in a backpack on her back. But what these roller skates need, said Mrs. Armitage to herself, what they need is, I wonder what they could use. What do you think you could add to a pair of roller skates? Okay, are you ready with those roller skate ideas? I'll show you what I've been thinking of, and then you can draw your own roller skates. Now, to draw some roller skates, you can draw a pair of shoes however you like to draw shoes. So, I like to draw sort of like a letter L, and then we need a hole for our foot to go in, and we need a place for our toes to fit. So I'm going to draw another letter L, and a hole for our legs to go in, and a place out here for my toes. There's my roller skates, and I used turquoise, one of my favorite colors. Now, my roller skates need wheels. We need 2 wheels up front on this side, and there's 2 wheels on the other side. So I'm going to draw them kind of hidden behind. This one, 2 big wheels on this side, and then the 2 wheels on the other side are a little bit hidden. All right, I have some shoes with some wheels, so I've got a pair of roller skates. Now, what I really wanted to add to my roller skates were kites. I thought it would be so cool if when I was skating along, I had some kites flying behind me. That way, since I'm making so much wind on my own, I thought it would be so cool to have some of that wind be used to fly a kite. Now I'm going to make my kites these colors, but if you wanted to make a kite, you could use any colors you want. This one is orange and pink. This one's going to be light blue. Give it some little tails. Hello, Aretha. Here's my dog, Aretha. Aretha, we're making some roller skates today. This one's going to be blue and I think purple. Ooh, I like that light purple color. All right, now on my roller skates, I wanted to add some kites so that when I'm roller skating, whoosh, the wind can fly the kites for me as I go. But I also thought of something else that could make wind. Now sometimes if I'm roller skating or running or riding a bicycle or exercise of any kind, I get hot, hot, hot. So I thought it might be nice to add some fans. I thought I could get a big twisty pole and up here put some fans so that as I roller skate, the air stirs up around me and cools me down. All right, one more thing I thought of. Now, I don't know about you, but when I'm outside, I love finding treasures. I really wanted to make a cool pocket for the side of my roller skate, and it's going to need a button to stay closed. And inside that pocket, I can put all the treasures I find, like pine cones. Do you ever find pine cones outside? Or, oh my gosh, this is always such a special day when I find these. Bird feathers, or even really cool little rocks. I love finding treasures outside, and I thought it would be great to have a spot on my roller skates to keep them. Well, those are my ideas of how I could make my roller skates even better. Let's see if you can draw your very own roller skates. What would you add to them? Friends, thank you for joining me today. Thank you for using your imagination. I hope you can choose to be kind today, especially to your grown-ups. Have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.